Jaden was only 23, but his body already felt like it had lived twice that. Each day was a battlefield, splitting shifts as a machine operator and part-time cleaner at a production factory. He was up by 5 a.m. and rarely sat for more than a few minutes. That day, his toxic boss had gone on yet another rant, hurling blame for problems Jaden hadn't caused. By the time he reached the bus stop, the weight of exhaustion sat heavy on his shoulders. As usual, the evening bus was packed, but by some miracle, he found a free seat near the back. He sank into it with a sigh, letting his thoughts drift. The aches in his back and feet were unbearable, and worse. He was starting to wonder if this grind would ever lead to anything. No one on the bus noticed him. Everyone was glued to their phones or lost in their own stress. The bus slowed down again, hissing as the doors opened. An old woman climbed aboard. She was tiny, her body fragile, leaning heavily on the rails as she shuffled forward. Her eyes scanned the rows of occupied seats, her face tightening when she realized there was nowhere to sit. She moved toward a window and leaned on it, her knees visibly trembling. Something about her made Jaden's heart squeeze. Maybe it was how everyone ignored her, pretending not to see. Without thinking twice, he stood up. "Ma'am," he called gently, "please take my seat." She looked stunned. Slowly, her lips curled into a grateful smile, and she nodded. Jaden helped her into the seat, then stood for the rest of the ride, swaying with each bump and turn. It wasn't a big deal to him. It just felt like the right thing to do. A few minutes later, his stop came up. He moved to get off, calling to the driver. But just before stepping down, he felt a soft tug on his jacket. The old woman's frail hand reached into his coat pocket and slipped something inside. She didn't say a word. The moment passed in a blur. The bus doors closed behind him, and the vehicle rumbled away. Standing there in the streetlight's glow, Jaden fished the note out of his pocket. It was folded neatly. On one side, there was an address, 5 Queens Park. On the other side, a 5-digit number, 88687. "What the heck?" he muttered, blinking at it. A secret code? A joke? A thank you? He stuffed the note back in his pocket and walked home, his mind racing. That night, sleep never came. He tossed and turned, haunted by questions. Who was she? Why that note? Was this some elaborate scam? Or something else entirely? The next day he took the same bus, hoping to see the old woman again. Morning and evening, no sign of her. For 2 more days, he rode the same route, but it was as if she'd vanished. Finally, on his day off, Jaden decided to check out the address. Curiosity had won. He took the same bus, rode for 35 minutes, and stepped off in a quiet part of town. What he found was not a house, not exactly. It was a sprawling estate behind tall wrought iron gates, surrounded by a sea of gardens and trees. The area was so peaceful, it felt like time had slowed down. Jaden approached the gate and knocked, but no one answered. Then he spotted a keypad panel next to the lock. He typed in the code from the note, 88687, and to his surprise, the gate buzzed and swung open. Heart pounding, he made his way up a long path to a large mansion. The front door was ajar. Hesitant but curious, he stepped inside. There she was, the same old woman, sitting comfortably on a velvet couch, smiling like she'd been waiting all along. "Welcome," she said softly. "I'm glad you came." Jaden's mouth opened, then closed again. I don't understand. What is this?" She motioned for him to sit. "My name is Jasmine. I never forgot your kindness that day. You were the only one who noticed me. That meant more than you know." He nodded, still confused. Jasmine explained that she lived alone. At 69, her health was failing fast. She'd had multiple caretakers over the years, but most stole from her or left when the job got too demanding. "I need someone I can trust," she said, her eyes fixed on him. "Someone with a good heart." Then she told him what she was offering, full-time live-in work as her caretaker, cooking, cleaning, helping her get around. And the pay? 6 times more than what Jaden made at the factory. He was stunned. Jasmine could have chosen anyone, but she chose him, all because of one act of kindness. Jaden accepted, requesting a few days to get his affairs in order. His boss tried to make him stay, even offering to double his salary, but Jaden was done. For once he was choosing peace over pressure. The job turned out to be a blessing. Jasmine was witty, warm, and full of stories. She loved Scotch eggs, old jazz records, and telling tales from her youth. Jaden found himself looking forward to their conversations, laughing more than he had in years. Her house became his home. But time, as it does, took its toll. Jasmine's health began to decline. One morning, Jaden found her struggling to breathe. He called an ambulance immediately. At the hospital, he sat by her side, refusing to leave. She pulled through, but barely. When they got back home, Jaden insisted on staying overnight, using one of the guest rooms. That night, he was jolted awake by a strange sound, metal scraping. At first, he dismissed it, until a scream ripped through the silence. He rushed to Jasmine's room and froze. A masked man was holding a gun, demanding money and jewelry. Jasmine was trembling in fear. Jaden didn't hesitate. He lunged. They fought. He managed to knock the weapon away, but the intruder pulled out a small knife and stabbed Jaden before fleeing. The wound was deep, but not fatal. At the hospital, Jasmine never left his side. Weeks passed. Jasmine grew weaker. One night, she whispered her final thanks before passing away in Jaden's arms. He was shattered. She had become family. After the funeral, Jaden tried to move on, but grief hung heavy. A week later, a knock came at his door. 3 men in suits stood outside, Jasmine's attorneys. She had left everything to him, the estate, the investments, her shares in major companies. Jasmine, it turned out, was a millionaire, a quiet one, who had built her empire in silence and spent her last years surrounded by fake helpers. Until Jaden. He read the will in disbelief. Because he gave up a bus seat, because he cared, because he stayed. He was now a millionaire. With his newfound wealth, he paid for his mother's leukemia treatment. He built a center in Jasmine's name to care for the elderly. And every morning, he made Scotch eggs, just the way she liked them. Kindness isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the most powerful investment you can make.